Hello there, Vana community and YouTube. JorgenS here again at my balcony. I think for one of the final times during this seasons. It is now the 4th of September, so I think it's going to be, may not be too many times more that I will sit here at my balcony in my videos for this year. It's getting colder and colder, and realize that the summer is almost over, so it's time to move inside. But for this time I'm doing it at the balcony, and it's time to do another year celebration. This time a year that in the world was very joy and happiness. It was a very important year with the Berlin Wall being torn down, and Ceausescu being executed in Romania and so on. And by then you have realized that the year is 1989. For me personally, maybe not my best year, but that's another story. When it comes to music, it was a pretty good year. Not my absolute favorite, but it was a step up from the year before that, 1988. I said that 88 is not my favorite year, and I think that I had a little trouble getting used to that the synthesizer music that I loved so much before 1988 wasn't all that big anymore. That has become a whole lot tougher music. And in 1989 I think I haven't gotten to the point where I accepted that, even though I still was longing for synthesizer music. But I have put together a collection of singles and full-length albums that were popular in 1989, that I think were underrated in 1989. Some Swedish albums that were popular back then, and music that have grown to me since then. So let's start with the lady that is in almost every year, and of course it's always a reason. She was the biggest one. And in 1989 she released a new album, and I'm talking of course of Madonna. Took a couple of singles this time, like a prayer single and Express Yourself single. Not going to open this poster bag up once again, but you've seen it before, but it is Express Yourself. Big year for Madonna again. Like a Prayer became a huge success with many great songs. Till Death Do Us Apart, I love that song very much. A great album, no doubt about it. 1989 was also a big year for this artist, Richard Marx. Right Here Waiting. His biggest hit here in Sweden, at least this year. And we also have this one that I think is a really great slow down song, Angelia. And I actually happen to have this single in two different sleeves. This is one sleeve, this is another sleeve. Of course, gotta have some Depeche Mode. Personal Jesus, really great song, the first single from Violator. And the B-side of this song is a real classic, Dangerous, song that I mentioned in when I showed my Depeche Mode singles. I think that one could have been a single of its own, because it is so strong and a great song, a great Depeche Mode song. Reminds me more of a traditional Depeche Mode song than Personal Jesus does, but a really fantastic single. 1989, a year filled with hard rock bands, artists. Uh, First of all, one of the toughest guys in the business, Alice Cooper, Bed of Nails. I thought I had Poison as a single, but obviously I don't. I was pretty surprised by that, but gotta have that one. Bed of Nails, really great rock song actually. Ballads, hard rock bands made ballads. 1989, the breakthrough year here in Sweden for Guns N' Roses. Wasn't all that pleased with Guns N' Roses when they came. I thought and still think Paradise City is horrible. Can't stand that song. But when this ballad came, Patience, slightly changed my mind a bit about the band, and it's a great song. And I think it's become that way that I prefer Guns N' Roses more slower tempo songs than their rockier stuff. And this one was a song that was played very much here in Sweden. White Lion, When the Children Cry. Leaving the tougher boys for a band with a little softer gimmick, band that became one of my absolute favorites with their album that came out this year, Gatecrashing. Talking about Living in a Box, Blow the House Down, and this title track is so fantastic. Living in a Box song, Gatecrashing. I really love this song. One of the best songs of 1989. And the ballad became a surprising hit here in Sweden. Room in Your Heart. Also a breakthrough year in Sweden for fine Young Cannibals. Much because of She Drives Me Crazy. A song that I saw at MTV over and over and over again, and finally I got fed up with it. It was a song that was totally overplayed at MTV. Still think it's pretty overplayed. I haven't made peace with quite yet, even though it is a great song. Then I think this one is even better. Another single called I'm Not Satisfied. Very forgotten single from Fine Young Cannibals, the song released during the summer. I think this one is definitely one of the best songs on the Raw Undercooked, their album this year. Coming to a stack of Swedish songs. When they say Sweden in 1989, many Swedes think of two artists, one that I will return to later, Roxette, and this guy, Jakob Hellman. It was a Swedish guy who released one album, and that album came out this year, became a huge hit. Och det stora havet, and the big ocean. It also released two big hits, Vara, vänner, Be Friends, and Hon har ett sätt, She Has a Way. I don't have that one as a single yet, unfortunately. Jakob Hellman, with that, became a little cult classic as he more or less quit the music business after one extremely successful album. This is, you might call it Swedish guitar pop with very much funny and intelligent lyrics. And of course, we had some international success this year. Of course, I'm talking about Roxette, of course. I have a hard time finding some music for this year because many of the biggest hits this year with Bangles, with Paula Abdul, Straight Up, and so on, they were recorded and is labeled 1988, even though they were hits in 1989. But they're part of 1988 officially. The look here in Sweden also is is labeled 1988. Look Sharp album is from 1988 officially, but I felt like since it's 1989 it would be wrong to excel the single that was first time in well, at least many years, almost 20 years, that we had a #1 in the USA of the Swedish artist. Follow-up single didn't become all that big in USA. Dangerous. It's a nice release with the gatefold. Not often you see gatefolds as singles. That is not a double pack single release. But we also had another Swedish artist that was pretty successful outside of Sweden, even though she had more contacts in the USA, but she is from Sweden. Her real name is Marianne Karlsson. I'm talking about Neneh Cherry, Buffalo Stance, a song that I feel is way overplayed. I'm not too fond of it today, but it's a classic nonetheless. Then I think this song is much better, Manchild. Welcome inside, VC. I had to move inside because it was getting all too dark for this video, so I guess that was the balcony season 2016. Who knows? Depends on the weather. Well, let's continue with 1989. Before I close up the single session, a little mix of singles as I guess tribute to group producers that in 1989 became a part of my music interest. I'm talking about British disco gurus Stock Aitken and Waterman, who I 2 years earlier had despised as way too cheesy. But I listened to a couple of songs by this girl, Kylie Minogue, and then everything changed. I realized that this isn't so bad at all. This is really good. It was well produced, and I liked, I still do, there's sense for disco, a little 70s disco style with very much 80s synthesizers in the top, and I like that very much. So I started to listen a lot to Stock Aitken and Waterman this year, a little later than everybody. That's me. I've always been a little bit later than everybody when it comes to music. That's why I'm a little bit scared that a couple of years from now I'm going to enjoy Justin Timberlake, Justin Bieber, Pink and Taylor Swift like everybody does today. Scares me the hell. But whatever. Back to 1989. Kylie Minogue, I said, and here with Jason Donovan and a sweet song, especially for you. Sweet ballad. And more Jason Donovan, When You Come Back to Me. And a great remake of a classic 60s ballad, Sealed with a Kiss. Talking about covers, Bananarama, with who had a new member this year, with a single that was made as a charity in support, says here, support of comic relief. They made this with comedians Lana Nini Nunu, and I think in this group was Joanna Lumley, who today is a part of the female comedy duo Absolutely Fabulous. Sonia, today pretty forgotten artist, short red-haired wild singer, with the song Can't Forget You that I liked very, 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 very much. And we have three boys that were pretty cheesy and not so great. Not so great soprano voices, you might call it. Big Fun, boy band that did some great songs. Stockade and Waterman, I think, did most of what was great with Big Fun, the production. The great version of the Jackson 5's Blame It on the Boogie, and Can't Shake the Feeling. We have another artist, international famous, that started to do records with Stockade and Waterman. She did only one, but it was planned another one, but she jumped off the train in last split second, so that album went to another artist called Lonnie Gordon in 1990. But that's another story. Donna Summer, This Time I Know It's For Real, also a great disco classic from 1989. And also a song that may be labeled a little cheesy, but I think it's very cute and charming. I can't resist this song because I think it's a really good one. The Reynolds Girls Are Rather Jack. Two teenage sisters, actually, that made only one single, actually, before they had a fallout with Stockade and Waterman and left the hit factory. And Stockade and Waterman finished up the year by collecting most of these artists plus many, many more in to do another version of a song that celebrated 5 years this year, talking about Do They Know It's Christmas, and they did a version called Band Aid 2, where Bananarama was the only one that was on both the original and this version. I think this one is a pretty good one, a really great and forgotten version, even though the original one is, of course, is a lot more classic. So that was the singles. Let's move on to the full-length albums for this year. Some great women. Start with some great women that did great music. Gloria Estefan and the Miami Sound Machine released Cuts Both Ways. In my opinion, Gloria Estefan's best albums, containing some great songs. I love Oya Mi Cante. I think that one is really, really good. And Don't Wanna Lose You, of course. A song that maybe played a little bit too much, but still it's a great ballad. I've shown this one before, but it's a part of 1989. Debbie Gibson, Electric Youth. And another artist that is very much 1989, because this was the year when she had her biggest and maybe only success. Robin Beck and Trouble or Nothing. Of course, containing her Coca-Cola commercial song First Time, and we have Save Up All Your Tears. I actually think that one is a great, great song. And we have so many covers here. We have If You Were a Woman, I Was a Man. That's Bonnie Tyler's song from the beginning. And Tears in the Rain, great, great ballad. This is actually a very forgotten and underrated album, with a lot of covers that, in my opinion, is better than the original ones. Swedish girl who had a great breakthrough year this year, Titiyo, did a lot of house-influenced soul music, Swedish style. This is her debut album, containing her biggest hit this year, Talking to the Man in the Moon. This is a real classic and real laid-back album. It was the year when I discovered Stevie Nicks for real, when I heard Rooms on Fire and realized that this is a really good song. And I discovered that the entire album, The Other Side of the Mirror, was just as good. Stevie Nicks, of course, famed from Fleetwood Mac. It was a great album this year. Talking about great albums, I've shown this band 1,000,000 times, but I'm showing it 1,000,000 times more because I think this album is so great. Tears for Fears and The Seeds of Love, and maybe the best song ever, Sowing the Seeds of Love, that I think is a thrill. I think this one is fantastic, well made, as is the entire album. And 1989 was the year when Phil Collins released a new album, But Seriously, containing many great songs. I love Hanging Long Enough. I think that one is a great song, and Something Happened on the Way to Heaven, real great song. I always thought that Phil Collins is a little bit better on the faster song than the ballads, even though the ballads, of course, is great. Another Day in Paradise is a great song, no doubt about it. Chicago, Bill Champlin as the singer this time, now when Peter Cetera is no longer in the band. Chicago 19, containing one of the best rock ballads I know, Look Away. I think that one is a really, really great song. Really sentimental and really great lyrics. Diane Warren classic. Couple of records that became more favorites of mine than favorites of others. They are pretty forgotten today. XTC, Oranges and Lemons, Mayor Sampleton's great song. And Simple Minds, Street Fighting Years, really almost experimental, but laid back and so fantastic produced. 1999, a lot of artists this year that was big this year with a couple of hits, but then never managed to move on in the other years. Bad English, I've heard the singing John Waite before. I think it was a great one. And I think most of you remembers When I See You Smile. And finally, 1989, the year when was a great year for house music, British house music, and there were so many great albums in that genre that were released. Soul to Soul, Club Classic Volume 1, we have Keep on Moving, and we have Back to Life, Back to Reality, Jazzy B, the king of house during these times. And an artist I discovered not until years later, fantastic house singer, a diva, and her debut album. Unfortunately, she released a couple more albums, and I had the second album, the follow-up of this one, in my collection until recently, and it wasn't a good album at all. It was a real disappointment. Unfortunately, this was the only album that the diva did that was really good. But what a great album this was. What a funky album. So, 1989. My 1989. There was it. Of course, I usually say which song that was the most selling single in Sweden this year. A song that I actually don't have, nor I don't want it, because I think that song is so horrible. It was Kaoma and the song / dance Lambada. Lambada was, I don't know if you Americans, if it reached USA, but it was some kind of a Latin Brazilian style with accordion, and it was supposed to dance a semi-erotic dance with another guy, and I hated that song. I still think it's way too cheesy for my taste. I will never have it in my collection. But it was the most selling single in Sweden during this year. It was #1 at the Swedish hit chart for 5 weeks in a row in October, November. So, with that, I hope that you have learned a little bit more of the year of 1989. I have a lot of things to do. I'm going to start a new series of top 10 of best songs during each decade, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s and 90s. And OOs if I can. But I will also do a response to Vinyl Potatoes contest. So I have a lot to do during the past couple of weeks. So until next time, I hope that each and every one of you have a great beginning of next week, and take care and so long.